Maya walked into the airport with a small bag on her shoulder and a calm face that did not show any stress. The terminal was busy with people moving fast and dragging suitcases over the shiny floor. Screens above the counters flashed flight numbers and boarding times while voices from loudspeakers repeated the same announcements again and again. Maya moved with steady steps, not rushing, not stopping, just flowing through the crowd like she belonged there. She wore a simple coat, simple shoes, and no flashy jewelry, because she liked to travel without drawing attention. She had learned that people acted differently when they thought someone was important, and she wanted to see the truth. This trip was quiet on purpose, and no one in the terminal knew who she was. At the check-in area, long lines formed in front of different counters, and each line had its own mood and tension. Some travelers looked tired, some looked angry, and some looked nervous like they were late even when they were not. Maya joined the line for her airline and held her phone in one hand with her boarding details ready. A man behind her kept checking his watch and sighing, and a woman ahead of her kept turning around as if she wanted someone to notice her frustration. Maya stayed silent and focused on the counter in front of her. She was used to waiting, and she did not let small delays take control of her mind. Her eyes moved over the staff at the desks, noticing how they greeted some passengers warmly and brushed others aside quickly. When it was Maya's turn, she stepped forward and offered her phone to the agent behind the counter. The agent was a young woman with a neat uniform and a sharp expression that looked tired from repeating the same work all day. She scanned the code on the screen and frowned at her monitor as if she had found a problem. Her fingers tapped quickly, and her shoulders tightened as she leaned closer to the screen. Maya waited without speaking, giving the agent space to finish the process. The agent did not ask questions at first, she just stared at the monitor and then looked at Maya in a way that felt cold. Maya kept her face neutral, because she knew emotions could turn a small situation into a bigger one. The agent told Maya that her seat was not in business class and pointed toward the economy section of the terminal. Her voice was firm like she was ending the conversation instead of opening it. Maya calmly replied that her ticket was confirmed for business class and asked if the agent could check again. The agent sighed and asked Maya to step aside because she was holding up the line. People behind Maya shifted and stared, and the man behind her made a small sound of impatience. Maya stepped aside because she did not want to disturb other travelers, but she did not move away from the counter completely. She stood near the side and waited for the agent to look again with a clearer mind. A second staff member came over, a man with a clipped smile and quick eyes that moved across Maya's face and clothing. He spoke with a polite tone that sounded fake, like it was trained into him and not real. He repeated the same thing and told Maya to wait near the economy gate until the issue could be resolved. Maya asked if there was any supervisor who could confirm the details, because she had a tight schedule and did not want to miss her flight. The staff member shook his head and said the system showed what it showed, and that was the end of it. Maya did not argue, but she felt the heat of the moment in the air, like something unfair had just happened and everyone could sense it. She nodded once and moved toward the waiting area with slow control, like someone who refused to be pushed into panic. Maya sat near a window where sunlight spilled onto the floor in a bright square. She placed her bag beside her and watched the gate area from a distance. People in economy lined up for boarding passes, and some families sat on the floor with snacks and tired children. Maya looked around and noticed how the staff moved differently when they spoke to certain passengers. Some travelers were treated like guests, while others were treated like problems. She saw a man in a nice suit walk to the counter and receive a smile and quick help, even though his request seemed complicated. Then she saw an older woman ask a simple question and receive a short answer that sounded annoyed. Maya breathed slowly and kept her shoulders relaxed, but inside her mind was working with sharp focus. She opened her laptop, not because she needed to work right now, but because she wanted to stay calm and grounded. The screen lit up, and she typed a short message with careful words. The message was not emotional, and it was not threatening, it was only clear and direct. She sent it to a private contact that most people in the company did not even know existed. She closed the laptop and looked at her phone, waiting. While she waited, she watched the staff again and listened to the noise of the terminal like it was a story unfolding in real time. A child laughed somewhere behind her, and a cart rolled by with a squeaking wheel. Maya kept her face calm, because she understood that calmness could be a form of strength. Minutes passed, but the energy in the terminal started to change in a way that felt strange. A supervisor entered the area from the side door, moving fast like he had been called urgently. He wore a different badge and carried a tablet in his hand, and his face looked tense. He spoke into a headset and asked short questions, and his eyes scanned the counters like he was searching for something specific. The agent who had dismissed Maya noticed him and straightened quickly. The second staff member also shifted his posture, trying to look busy and professional. Maya stayed seated, watching quietly, as if she were only another passenger waiting for boarding. The supervisor approached the counter and asked the agent what had happened. The agent spoke quickly, pointing in Maya's direction without looking at her directly. The supervisor turned and saw Maya sitting near the window with her bag beside her. He walked toward her, and with every step his face changed from confusion to recognition. He stopped in front of her and spoke her name softly, as if he could not believe he was saying it in this situation. Maya stood up smoothly and faced him with steady eyes. She did not smile and did not show anger, because she did not need to prove anything. The supervisor apologized and asked if they could speak privately, and his voice carried respect that had been missing before. Maya nodded once, and the two of them walked toward a small office near the gate. As they passed the counter, the agent and the staff member watched them with nervous faces. The people in line leaned forward slightly, trying to understand what was happening. A woman whispered to her friend, and the man with the watch stopped checking the time and stared. Maya did not look at any of them as she walked, but she could feel the weight of their attention on her back. Inside her mind, she was thinking about patterns, not just one moment. She was thinking about how many passengers had been treated like this before, and how many had walked away feeling small. She was thinking about what kind of company allowed this to happen at a gate where people were already stressed and vulnerable. The door to the office opened, and Maya stepped inside with the supervisor, ready to make sure this moment would not be ignored. The small office near the gate felt quiet compared to the busy terminal outside, and the door closed with a soft sound that sealed the moment inside. Maya stood near the table while the supervisor pulled out a chair but did not sit. His hands moved slightly as if he was unsure what to do with them, and his breathing was not as steady as before. He apologized again, this time slower, explaining that he had just received an urgent message and rushed over immediately. Maya listened without interrupting, her posture relaxed but firm, like someone who was fully present and fully aware. She looked around the office and noticed company posters on the wall talking about respect and service, and she wondered how often those words were ignored in real life. The supervisor finally asked Maya to explain what had happened in her own words. Maya spoke calmly and clearly, starting from the moment she joined the line. She described the tone of the agent, the quick judgment, and the refusal to check again. She did not exaggerate and she did not accuse, she only stated exactly what was said and done. Her voice never rose, but every word landed with weight. The supervisor nodded slowly, typing notes into his tablet as she spoke. With each sentence, his face grew more serious, like he was realizing the situation was much deeper than a small mistake. Maya explained that she had chosen to travel quietly without special treatment. She believed leaders should understand the real experience of customers, not just read reports about it. She said she had not expected comfort or praise, only basic fairness and professionalism. As she spoke, the supervisor stopped typing and looked at her directly. He understood now that this moment was not about a seat or a class of travel. It was about how power was used and how assumptions were made. The room felt heavy with that understanding, and the supervisor knew there was no easy way out of it. Outside the office, the gate area buzzed with whispers and curious looks. The agent and the other staff member stood stiffly behind the counter, pretending to work while stealing nervous glances toward the closed door. Passengers sensed that something important was happening, even if they did not know what. A few phones were raised slightly, ready to record if something dramatic happened. The usual rhythm of the terminal felt broken, like everyone was waiting for the next sound. Time moved slowly, stretching each second longer than usual. Inside the office, the supervisor excused himself briefly to make a call. He stepped into the hallway and spoke in a low, urgent voice, using names and titles that made his tone sharper. Maya stayed alone in the room, standing near the window and looking out at the runway. Planes moved slowly in the distance, calm and orderly, following strict systems that left no room for guesswork. She thought about how people often failed where machines succeeded, because machines followed rules without bias. She reminded herself that this moment was not personal anger, but a responsibility she carried. When the supervisor returned, his face was pale but focused. He told Maya that senior management had been informed and that security footage was being reviewed immediately. He asked if she would like water or anything to sit down, but Maya declined. She preferred to remain standing, alert, and ready. The supervisor explained that the staff involved would be called in for questioning. Maya nodded, her expression unchanged, because this was the correct next step. She had no interest in public scenes or loud reactions, only in clear outcomes. One by one, the staff members were asked to come into the office. The first was the agent who had scanned the ticket. She entered with stiff steps and eyes that avoided Maya's face. She greeted the supervisor quickly and stood near the door. Maya did not speak yet, and the silence pressed hard on the room. The supervisor asked the agent to explain what happened, and her words came out rushed and defensive. She blamed the system and the pressure of the line, but her story did not fully match the footage that had already been reviewed. Next, the second staff member was called in. His confident smile was gone, replaced by tight lips and restless hands. He repeated similar excuses, talking about procedures and time pressure. Maya listened closely, noticing the small gaps in his explanation. She had learned long ago that truth did not need decoration, and lies often did. The supervisor asked clear questions, and each answer seemed to dig a deeper hole. The room felt tense, like everyone knew the outcome but no one wanted to say it out loud. Maya finally spoke again, her voice steady and controlled. She explained who she was and why she had chosen to travel without notice. The moment her title was spoken, the air in the room changed completely. The agent's eyes widened, and the second staff member froze as if the floor had dropped beneath him. The supervisor stood straighter, even though he already knew. Maya did not show pride or anger, only seriousness. She explained that leadership meant responsibility, and responsibility meant consequences. She made it clear that this was not about punishment for one action, but about behavior that reflected a deeper problem. She said the company could not claim values it did not practice. She explained that passengers trusted the airline during stressful moments, and that trust had been broken today. Her words were simple, but they carried authority because they were true. The staff members stood silent, unable to argue. They understood that this moment would follow them long after this flight. The supervisor thanked Maya and told the staff to wait outside. As they left the office, their steps were slow and heavy. Maya turned back toward the window, watching the planes again. She felt no joy in what was happening, only clarity. Change was never comfortable, but comfort was not the goal. Outside, the terminal noise slowly returned, but something had shifted beneath it. The next steps would happen soon, and Maya knew this was only the beginning of a much larger conversation. The supervisor returned to the office with a serious look and said the situation was now officially documented in the system. He explained that a senior operations manager was on the way, and that a human resources officer was joining by video call. Maya listened quietly, hands relaxed at her sides, as if she were hearing a normal report. The staff outside the door could be heard shifting their feet, and the muffled sound of boarding announcements kept drifting in. The supervisor kept saying the word policy, but Maya kept thinking about behavior, because policies meant nothing when people ignored them. She asked for the exact timeline of what the staff did after she was sent away, because she wanted facts, not opinions. The supervisor nodded and promised full transparency, knowing there was no room left for excuses. A few minutes later, the operations manager arrived, a woman named Linda with a neat blazer and a focused expression. She greeted Maya carefully, clearly aware of her position, but also unsure how to handle the moment. Maya did not ask for praise or special care, she only asked for a clear review of what happened at the counter. Linda opened a tablet and showed the footage, stopping at key moments where tone and behavior were easy to see. The video showed the agent dismissing Maya without verifying her booking properly, and it showed how quickly the staff tried to end the conversation. It also showed other passengers being treated differently moments earlier, with warmer smiles and more patience. Maya watched without reacting, because she had trained herself to stay calm when emotions could cloud judgment. Linda asked if Maya wanted to file a personal complaint, but Maya said it was not only personal. She explained that the company could not protect its reputation by hiding problems under quiet apologies. She said that when one passenger is treated unfairly, many others are likely being treated the same way, just without the power to be heard. Maya asked for the staff record connected to the gate, including prior feedback and customer complaints. Linda hesitated for half a second, then agreed, because she understood the request was reasonable and necessary. The supervisor searched the system and found notes that suggested similar issues had been reported before, though nothing serious had been done about them. Maya did not look surprised, because patterns often repeated until someone stopped them. The agent and the second staff member were brought back into the office, standing side by side like students facing a difficult meeting. Their eyes were lowered, and their posture showed fear mixed with embarrassment. Linda explained that there would be an immediate review and that their access to systems would be suspended until the review was complete. The staff member tried to speak, offering another explanation, but Linda stopped him gently and said the footage was clear enough. Maya then spoke in a steady voice and said that professionalism was not a mood or a favor, it was the job. She said that if the staff could not treat people fairly during stress, then they were in the wrong role. She did not insult them and did not raise her voice, because she did not need to. The words felt heavier because they were said with control. The supervisor then asked the staff to hand over their badges and step outside with security for a formal report. A security officer named Sam entered, calm and respectful, and guided them out without drama. The door closed again, and the office returned to quiet. Linda looked at Maya and asked what she wanted to happen next, because she knew the company would follow her direction. Maya said she wanted a fair process that happened fast, not slow, because delays only protected the system, not the people affected by it. She asked for the whole gate team to be replaced for the shift, so passengers would not suffer more tension or confusion. Linda nodded and began making calls immediately, speaking in short, urgent sentences to coordinate replacements. Maya watched her work and felt something important settle in her chest, not satisfaction, but responsibility being carried properly. Outside the office, the terminal had become a place of soft rumors and curious looks. A few passengers whispered that someone important had been insulted, and others guessed it was a celebrity. Some people looked at Maya through the glass as she stood near the window, trying to match her face to stories in their mind. A mother holding a small child watched with concern, as if she feared boarding would be delayed and her child would get tired. An older man in a cap shook his head and muttered that staff should treat everyone the same. Maya noticed these reactions and understood how quickly people built stories when they lacked facts. She also understood that public attention could make a serious issue feel like entertainment, and she did not want that. She told Linda that the priority was to keep the flight safe, calm, and on time. Linda stepped out to manage the gate while the supervisor stayed with Maya and explained what would happen next. He said a temporary team was being moved in from a nearby gate, and a new lead agent would handle boarding. He also said that customer care would be informed and that a formal report would be filed for internal review. Maya asked him to include details about tone and behavior, not just ticket scanning errors, because the way people are treated is often where the real issue lives. The supervisor agreed and looked relieved to have clear direction, because many managers panic when accountability gets close. Maya sat down for the first time that day, not because she was tired, but because the next part required patience. Her phone buzzed again, and she read a brief message confirming that senior leadership had been notified and that the situation was being handled quietly. When the replacement crew arrived, the gate area began to feel normal again. The new lead agent greeted passengers with calm and clear instructions, and the line started moving smoothly. Maya was offered a private escort to the lounge, but she declined, choosing to remain visible like any other traveler. She believed visibility mattered, because hiding in comfort could make leaders forget what regular people face. She walked back into the gate area, and the new lead agent greeted her politely without special excitement. Maya handed over her boarding details, and the agent confirmed her seat in business class with a professional tone. No judgment, no suspicion, no attitude, just the way it should have been from the beginning. Maya nodded once, thanked her, and stepped aside while other passengers were processed. As boarding began, Maya watched families gather their bags and couples stand close in line, trying to stay organized. She noticed a young woman in economy holding a worn backpack and looking nervous, as if she feared being told she had done something wrong. Maya watched the new crew treat that woman with patience, answering her question and guiding her gently toward the right place. That small moment mattered to Maya more than any apology spoken earlier. It showed that change was possible when the right behavior was expected and supported. The supervisor returned and quietly told Maya that the original staff had been removed from duty and their accounts were locked for investigation. Maya thanked him and told him to send a written summary within the hour, because details should not be lost in memory. He agreed and looked both exhausted and grateful, as if a hard lesson had been delivered in a way that could still improve the workplace. Maya boarded the plane with steady steps and found her seat by the window. The cabin was quiet and comfortable, but she did not relax fully. She looked out at the runway and thought about how a company could be strong in numbers and still weak in culture. She thought about how many people had been told to wait, not because of a real issue, but because of an assumption made in a split second. Maya did not feel proud of what happened, because pride was not the point. She felt focused, because the real work would begin after the flight, when policies had to become habits. As the plane prepared for takeoff, Maya closed her eyes briefly and promised herself that this would not become a simple story people told for fun. It would become a turning point that forced the company to treat every passenger with the same respect, no matter who they were. Maya sat by the window as the plane moved away from the gate, and the city outside looked like a calm picture that did not match the tension she had just faced. The cabin crew spoke softly to passengers, offering drinks and small smiles, but Maya kept her focus on the real problem that was still unfolding. She opened her laptop and reviewed the short notes she had typed earlier, making sure every detail stayed clear and accurate. She did not want the story to become a rumor or a dramatic tale that people twisted for attention. She wanted it to become a lesson that changed behavior across the company. As the plane began to climb, she looked around at the passengers settling in, and she wondered how many of them carried quiet stories of being dismissed in places where they should have felt safe and respected. A message appeared on her phone from Linda, confirming that the removed gate staff had been taken off duty and that a temporary team had finished boarding without delays. Another message arrived from a senior executive named Robert, asking if Maya wanted a full leadership call immediately or after landing. Maya did not like waiting when a problem was fresh, so she replied that the call should happen now. A few minutes later, she connected through a secure video link, and several faces appeared on the screen, including Robert, Linda, and a legal advisor named Helen. Their expressions were serious, and no one tried to soften the moment with jokes or small talk. Maya explained again what happened, not as a complaint, but as a clear report from the field. She made it clear that the company response needed to be about culture, training, and accountability, not quick public statements. Robert asked if Maya wanted the two main staff members terminated immediately. Maya paused for a moment, because she understood how fast decisions could become careless if they were made only from anger. She said she wanted a fair process, but she also wanted a strong signal that disrespect and careless assumptions were not tolerated. Helen explained the company could place the full gate team on immediate suspension while a fast investigation confirmed facts and reviewed past complaints. Linda added that early records showed repeated customer feedback at that gate, with similar notes about tone and behavior. Maya listened and then gave a clear direction that the full gate crew on duty during the incident should be removed from active service pending review. She also directed that any supervisor who ignored earlier complaints should be reviewed as well, because problems stayed alive when leaders looked away. The call ended with everyone understanding the urgency, and Maya closed her laptop and rested her hands in her lap. The cabin lights were soft, and the hum of the plane created a steady background sound. Maya did not feel satisfied, because this was not a victory, it was a warning sign. She thought about how some people treated customers like they were interruptions instead of human beings. She also thought about how people often acted brave in groups, then acted small when accountability arrived. Maya knew that if she handled this poorly, it would become a fear story inside the company, where staff felt hunted instead of guided. She wanted the outcome to be firm but fair, so the right lesson was learned. She wanted staff to understand that respect was not optional, and that professionalism was not a mood that changed based on appearances. As the flight continued, Maya noticed a passenger in the next row struggling with a suitcase that did not fit easily under the seat. A flight attendant named Sarah stepped in and helped calmly, speaking with patience and guiding the passenger without any sharp tone. The passenger looked relieved and thanked her again and again. Maya watched that moment closely because it showed what good service looked like in real life. It was simple, respectful, and steady. Maya thought about how training could teach steps and scripts, but real culture was built by what leaders allowed and what they corrected. She made a note to highlight this kind of behavior in the new training program, because improvement was not only about removing bad actions, it was also about rewarding good ones. She wanted the company to create pride around fairness, so staff would choose the right behavior even when no one was watching. During the last hour of the flight, Maya received updates that made her jaw tighten slightly, though her face remained calm. Linda reported that a passenger had posted a short video online showing staff pointing Maya toward economy, and the clip was spreading quickly with guesses about who she was. Robert added that a news outlet had contacted the company asking for comment, and the story was turning into a headline about power and consequences. Maya did not like that the public would focus on drama instead of the real issue. She instructed the team to release a simple statement that the company was reviewing an incident at the gate and taking immediate steps to ensure fair treatment for all passengers. She also instructed that no one should mention her identity in the statement, because this was not about a leader being offended. It was about a customer being treated unfairly, and that should matter every time. When the plane landed, Maya walked through the terminal without an escort, moving with the same quiet presence she had at the start of the day. She saw travelers rushing, parents carrying bags, and tired workers staring at screens. She imagined how small moments of disrespect could stay with someone for years, even if they never spoke about it. A car was waiting for her outside, arranged by company security, but Maya asked the driver to take her directly to the headquarters office near the airport. She did not want to go home first. She wanted to face the problem while it was still clear and before people had time to cover it with excuses. As the car moved through traffic, her phone rang again, and she answered with a calm voice that hid how serious she felt inside. In the office conference room, Robert, Helen, and two senior operations leaders waited with printed reports and open laptops. The mood was quiet and heavy, like everyone knew the company was standing at a turning point. Maya sat at the head of the table, not because she wanted dominance, but because responsibility belonged there. Helen summarized the investigation results so far, including footage, witness notes, and records of past complaints. The picture was clear enough that no one could deny the core issue. The gate staff had acted with a dismissive tone and failed to follow proper steps, and earlier warnings had not been handled strongly. Maya gave her decision in a simple, steady way, stating that the entire on-duty gate crew would be terminated after the review confirmed final details, and that supervisors connected to repeated complaints would face discipline as well. The room stayed silent because everyone understood this was not a symbolic move, it was a real change in standards. After the decision, Maya outlined what would come next, because consequences without a plan only created fear. She instructed that every frontline staff member should complete a new training program focused on fairness, communication, and respectful problem-solving. She demanded clearer systems for complaints, so repeated issues could not be hidden under vague notes. She also required random audits at major airports, not to trap staff, but to measure real behavior when pressure was high. She made sure the plan included support for staff who wanted to improve, because some people learned bad habits from bad environments. She ended the meeting by reminding everyone that a company did not earn trust through slogans, but through daily actions. As the leaders around the table nodded, Maya looked down at her notes and felt the weight of the day settle into something steady. The real story was not about one incident at a counter, it was about building a place where no passenger would ever be treated like they did not matter. The next morning, the headquarters building felt different, like the air itself had changed after the decisions made the night before. Maya arrived early, wearing the same simple style she always preferred, and walked through the lobby without any dramatic entrance. People noticed her, but they did not rush her or surround her, because her calm presence made everyone move with care. She entered her office and looked at the city through the tall windows, thinking about how fast one moment at a gate had turned into a company-wide test. She knew the world would talk about the headline for a few days and then move on. What mattered was what happened after the noise faded, when the company either returned to old habits or truly changed. Maya sat down and opened a folder filled with reports, not because she enjoyed paperwork, but because she wanted the truth in clear lines. Robert and Linda arrived with updates, and their faces showed they had slept very little. Linda explained that the formal review had confirmed the key facts, including the tone used, the failure to verify properly, and the pattern of similar complaints over the past year. Robert added that several other employees had quietly shared stories of the same gate team treating passengers with impatience. Some staff members had tried to report it before, but they felt ignored or afraid of being seen as trouble. Maya listened carefully and told them that fear was also a sign of a broken culture. She approved the final actions, and the terminations were processed with the proper steps, respectful language, and clear documentation. Maya did not celebrate it, because the loss of jobs was not a victory, it was a cost of failure that should have been prevented earlier. Later that day, Maya asked the communications team to prepare an internal message for all staff. She did not want a speech filled with fancy words. She wanted simple language that any worker could understand, from the newest trainee to the most experienced manager. The message explained that every passenger deserved respect, that assumptions were not allowed to guide decisions, and that professionalism mattered most when pressure was high. It also explained that the company would support employees who wanted to improve, but it would not protect behavior that harmed customers. Maya reviewed every line and removed anything that sounded like public relations. She made the tone firm but human, because fear created silence, and silence allowed problems to grow. When the message was sent, she knew it would create discomfort, but she also knew discomfort was often the beginning of change. Over the following weeks, the company moved quickly, not with panic, but with structure. New training sessions were scheduled across major airports, and every staff member had to complete them, including supervisors and managers. The training focused on listening, clear communication, and fair treatment for every passenger, especially when mistakes or system issues appeared. Maya insisted that training should include real scenarios, not just slides, because people learned better when they could feel the situation. She also introduced a new system that allowed employees and passengers to report concerns safely and privately. Reports were tracked and reviewed with clear rules, so no one could ignore repeated issues. Maya understood that fairness required systems, not just good intentions, because good intentions disappeared under stress. One afternoon, Maya visited an airport again, this time with a small group of leaders who needed to see reality, not just hear about it. She did not announce her visit publicly. She walked the terminal, observed counters, and listened to staff speak to travelers. She watched a new agent calmly handle a family that had a seating problem, and she watched a supervisor step in with patience instead of irritation. Maya also noticed a few moments where old habits tried to return, like short answers and rushed tone, and she made quiet notes. She did not punish people for small mistakes. Instead, she spoke to managers and reminded them that coaching had to happen in real time. She wanted respect to become normal, not something people performed only when they feared being watched. During another visit, Maya noticed the young woman from the earlier flight, the one who had looked nervous in economy. The woman recognized Maya from news clips and froze for a moment, unsure if she should speak. Maya walked over gently and asked how her travel experiences had been lately. The woman said she had felt more comfortable recently, and she had noticed staff being kinder, especially when problems happened. She said she never expected someone like Maya to care about regular people, and her voice shook with honest emotion. Maya told her that leadership meant caring about the regular moments, not just big meetings. The woman nodded, and Maya saw relief in her eyes, the kind that came when someone felt seen without having to fight for it. That short conversation gave Maya more motivation than any report or chart. Months passed, and the company began to see real measurable improvement. Customer complaints about disrespectful service dropped, and compliments about helpful staff increased. Managers reported fewer conflicts at gates, because staff had better tools to handle stress and communicate clearly. Maya reviewed the data carefully, but she did not rely only on numbers. She continued to travel quietly, speak to staff, and listen to passengers when she could. She believed that culture could improve on paper while still failing in real life, so she kept checking reality. She also launched a program that rewarded teams who showed consistent fairness and calm service, because people repeated what was respected. Slowly, the company began to shift from fear-based behavior to pride-based behavior. One evening, Maya sat in her office after most people had gone home. The city lights outside looked like distant stars, and the building felt quiet enough for real thoughts. She thought about that first moment at the counter, when she had been told to wait like she did not belong. She thought about how easily that moment could have been dismissed as a small mistake. She also thought about how many passengers had been treated the same way and had no power to change it. Maya knew she could not fix every unfair moment in the world, but she could fix the space she was responsible for. She understood that leadership was not about being recognized, it was about building a place where people did not need recognition to be treated with dignity. In the end, the story that spread online became less about a powerful person reacting and more about a company learning a hard lesson. Some people still talked about the dramatic part, but inside the airline, the deeper message stayed alive. Staff members learned that respect was not a gift they could choose to give, it was a standard they had to live by. Managers learned that ignoring small complaints could lead to big failures. Maya kept working quietly, pushing change in ways that were steady and lasting. And somewhere in an airport, a passenger walked up to a counter feeling nervous, only to be greeted with calm patience and fair treatment. That was the real ending Maya wanted, not applause, not headlines, but a world where no one was told to wait because of an assumption.